On February 29, 2000, Katherine Mary Knight murdered, butchered, and cooked her then boyfriend, John Price. Her actions would leave behind a scene so grotesque that it would rock the country of Australia like it had never been before, and haunt all of those who were a witness.
Whatever had done this, it was obviously a monster. Nothing could prepare you.
I didn't eat meat for about 3 months.
She's been branded a danger to the community, capable of murdering anyone who crosses her.
This is the story of how Katherine became known as the female Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, I see you lighting that cigarette. You're getting ready to hear all the gory details.
I'm stressed already.
You're stressed out? Well, let me tell you who is definitely stressed out. John Price, okay, her boyfriend at the time. He was definitely stressed out. So, before we get into the actual murder that happened, let's talk about the 5-year relationship between Katherine Knight and John Price. Okay, so they were together from 1995 until the time of the murder, and their relationship was nothing short of toxic and tumultuous, to say the least. And how do we know this, you ask? Well, that's because pretty much everybody in Aberdeen, Australia knew about that, because John would constantly confide in his friends and even his employer about the abuse and the toxicity going on in his relationship, okay? And one of the documentaries I watched, they said that John literally had to get a new friend group because all his friends were like, yo, bro, like, we're done with this. We've went through a few rounds of this with you, and you keep taking her back after all these shenanigans. So my man had to get a whole new crew, okay? What kind of shenanigans were going on, do you ask? Well, let's hear the first one that I thought was absolutely crazy, that you would do this to somebody that you not only is your boyfriend, but somebody you live with, okay? So one day, Katherine gets a bug up her ass about something that went on. He came home late. He was looking at some girl, who even knows, right? She decides that she's going to take her video camera. She loved her video camera. And she filmed this first aid kit in her home. Now, she takes this footage of this first aid kit to John Price's job. And she goes, this is your first aid kit that he stole from the mine. And they fire him. Absolutely unbelievable. She gets the pettiest shit I ever heard. What did he do to deserve that? Okay? But he still ends up staying with Katherine after that. They probably did a little breakup, oh, I'm done with you. And then, they come back together and they make out and blah, blah, blah. It's a whole sick.
Well, I mean, he also just lost his job too. So, I mean, like, where is he where he ain't got no income right now.
Well, but that was his house. That was his house, and he could kick her out, which he tried to. But I don't know what the fuck is going on in Australia. They on some next level shit, because she was just his girl. She was not his wife. She had no rights to the house. And they were like, hey, mate, you want to kick her out? You're going to need a court order for that, mate. And he's like, what? This is my crib, bitch. Are you crazy?
No, that's real. That's real. I mean, I watch a lot of the squatters videos and stuff, and that's real.
That's bullshit.
Someone will pay rent. Someone will pay rent for a month, and then they'll just stop paying rent.
That ain't right. Well, obviously, as you know, or you can imagine, it escalates. The things escalate, and eventually, Katherine ends up holding a knife to John. He flees his own home. When he comes back, reportedly, the police are there. Wonderful. Everybody, okay, get her out, boys. Cuff her up. They're not there for him. They're there for her, on her behalf, because she cited abuse on Johnny Boy. So now at this point, from what I understand, there's court orders on this one, restraining orders on that one, this one. Yay, I'm throwing a restraining order on you. There's 2 on John, but they're still living in the same house, and they're still together, okay? But after a while, February 29th, 2000 rolls around, and John has had enough, okay? And he's like, I'm going back to the court And I'm telling him, like, I need to get this crazy bitch out of my crib. So he goes to the courthouse and he tells him, hey, mate, she's fucking crazy, man. She was standing over my body last night when I was sleeping. So he tells him that he woke up the night prior on the 28th to Katherine standing over him like a fucking weirdo. And he's like, oh, what the fuck? So, you know, he jumped up like a fucking kangaroo and tried to get out of there. She apparently didn't do anything to him. So this is when things get dark, and this is where things really go down. Again, it's the 29th. He comes back from court, and he brings a beer to his mate's house. And he tells him, hey, mate, things are fucked up, okay? And this is what he tells him, almost verbatim. He says, if my car is in the driveway tomorrow, she killed me. So call the cops. Not only is that, but he had been confiding in his Wolf at work. And he said, Wolf, I think she's going to kill me. Okay? I think she's going to kill me. Well, the night of the 29th, Katherine comes back. She slips on a very nice nightgown or negligee, whatever you call it. I don't know what negligee. I think it's a nightgown. Lingerie. She slips on his nightgown, and they have sex. They bang, and, you know, John's defenses are down. He got milk just now, so his defenses are way down. He's chilling out. He's like, everything's good, you know. She probably gave some good head, all that. She probably gave great head. And John goes to sleep. You know what I mean? Well, John wakes up again with Katherine standing over his body. But this time, she was not empty-handed. She had a knife in her hand, and she proceeded to stab the ever-loving shit out of John. He gets out of the bed. I mean, she's just going wham, wham, wham. You could see in the videos, I showed some of the actual crime scene footage in the intro, and we'll probably put some now. Blood all over the walls, all over the place, because they're in this struggle. And apparently he almost made it to the door, but the police officer said that it wouldn't even matter if he would have made it out. He was that cooked. Done. She ended up stabbing him 37 times.
Wow.
All right? That's a lot. That's a lot of stabbing going on. So now, let's fast forward to March 1st. His car is in the driveway. His boss is worried. Everybody's worried about Johnny. So
his neighbor already has the memo.
Yeah, they got the memo is in. That's right, EJ. And they call the police. So now this is from the police's perspective. They go there. They're doing a wellness check. Knock on the door. Nobody answers. But they see this weird curtain, as they say, hanging in the house. So they go around the back. They bust in through the back. And they have to make it past this curtain hanging up. So one of the officers with his left arm brushes past it, and all of a sudden, just blood all over his arm. He's like, what the fuck is this?
Uh-oh.
That's when they find out. That's not a curtain, Poppy. That is the skin of John Price. And I'm talking expertly clean, cut in one expert slice, hanging like a curtain.
Oh my God.
And they see John's torso laying on the ground, but there's no head. So they follow the blood trail into the kitchen. They follow the blood, and they follow it to the stove. They see the pot on the stove, and they reluctantly open the lid, and inside that pot is the head of John Price. Now, next to the head in the pot are two dinner plates with food on them. There's meat and vegetables. And I'll give you one guess as to what kind of meat was on that plate. Want to take a guess?
It's people.
It's the meat of John Price that she meticulously sliced off of his body. So the most sinister part of this, I believe, is
Wait,
that,
hold on. Before you, did she also feed the dog?
she did.
Some of him
The
too.
dog, yeah, a steak was in the backyard.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Right, a steak was in the backyard. But that's not the most sinister part. I mean, that's very fucked up, though. All this is fucked up.
That is.
Underneath the plates were 2 notes, and those notes were written to John Price's children.
Yo, nah.
She was going to feed his children, who were not in the house at the time, their dad's meat, their dad's body with vegetables. And it was very interesting that they say when you walked into the house, it didn't smell like a crime scene. It smelled good. It smelled
because she just
sweet.
cooked, bro.
Yeah,
Like
she
there
cooked
was
this
no
man.
time for any decay to happen. Like
Well, his torso was laying. There was a lot of meat and stuff hanging on already, still on him in the. I think it was in the living room. His actual torso was left there, and his skin was still hanging there. So I mean, it could have smelled, but I guess her expert cooking did the job. And I mean, this scene scarred all these people. They say that one of the forensics guys quit. As you heard in the intro, one of the guys said he didn't eat meat for 3 months. I mean, this is stomach churning shit right here. This is horrific. So obviously, they're surveying the crime scene and they go, "Who could have done this? Where is the killer? Where is the killer?" You're probably wondering where the killer is right now. Hey, she probably fled. If she's smart, she went to the bank with his card, grabbed some money out. It's 2000. You can't track people like that back in the day. She's fucking out of there, right? She's out of Australia with his money. Well, that's half true. She did leave the scene, and she did get some money out of John's account, $1,000 to be exact. But then she came back, took a cocktail of pills, and fell asleep like a fucking bear in hibernation. So much so that when they busted in, they busted, "Hey, get on the fucking ground. What are you doing?" She didn't even know what was going on. She was like, ZZZ. She was done, bro. Done. They could not wake her up for nothing. So they called the ambulance. They surmised that this was a suicide attempt, which I could see. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like, she was taking these pills for fun. So they bring her to the hospital. She ends up recouping and recovering over time, and they sit her down, and they don't get much out of her. She does admit to killing John Price. And I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but at this point in their lives, John was about 45 and Katherine was about 49, okay? So Katherine admits to killing John, but as we saw in the Sarah Boone case, spoiler alert, she starts to claim what, Eddie? Abuse. I was abused, and now I have to kill him, and I have to cook his body and all this shit, right? So the police officers go, "Oh, really? You want to claim abuse, huh? Well, it just so happens, Beach, that when you were sleeping for a month, we did a little digging on you. And we went to your ex-man's, 3 of them to be exact. And let's go through the findings. Okay? So if anybody here thinking Katherine was a saint, you're wrong. Okay? One of Katherine's ex-lovers of the 3 claimed that she caved his head in with a frying pan. He got off easy compared to John. Tell you that. I'll take a concussion over getting cooked. But he fled eventually. One of the guys she ended up cheating on with another guy and left. But most of these other guys, they skipped town. They had to leave, right? One of them was stabbed in the stomach with scissors. Wonderful.
Really?
Yeah. If you can believe it, it gets worse, actually. So she had a husband, they had a baby, and sometime the man finds out that he's dealing with this fucking wacko, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta skip town, whatever. So she gets wind of that. She takes their baby, places their baby on the train tracks and waits for the train to come kill it.
No.
Thank the Lord, thank you, Jesus, and all the angels above that plan did not come to fruition. They stopped her, they apprehended her, they got the baby to safety, and they put this bitch in the loony bin like she belonged, but then they let her out. They let her out after that. What the hell? And so another schman came forward and said, yeah, she was my girl. I had a puppy that she slit its throat when it was 8 months old. She slit this guy's puppy's throat, ear to ear.
A puppy?
A puppy. 8 months. Guy didn't even know what the fuck was going on yet. Oh my God.
Yeah, right. He didn't even...
Horrible.
Damn.
Yeah, very, very bad. And they did a little digging into Catherine's background, and the reason she was so nice with slicing, dicing, carving, and butchering is because she used to work in a slaughterhouse. They went to this woman's house. They found out that she was into all kind of freaky movies, and she had like animals laying around. I think there was stuff. She was a fucking freak, basically, okay? She was a total freak. So they wheel her ass in the court, and they're like, yo, bro, you're done, bro. Like, you say you don't remember this, but we know you did it. We got all this evidence, like you cooked. And this is a sensational trial in Aberdeen, Australia. They've never seen anything like that ever, okay? And she becomes the first woman in Australia in history to be sentenced to life without parole, and she's rotting in prison right now. I think she's about 65 years old. Fuck you, Katherine Knight. And rest in peace to John Price, because that's just terrible. 45 years old, getting butchered by your girl. And it's like, you got to blame the system in some of this, because how could she not get kicked out of the crib? He owns the crib. He wants her out. Get her out of there. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
In 2000 they were doing this shit?
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. Any notes or thoughts on this case, EJ?
She would have did better if she would have just tried to go for like insanity.
I think
the issue with that is if you do go for insanity and you win, as soon as like you're not insane, then you actually gotta go to jail.
I know that there was a lot of worry about that because she ended up pleading guilty to the crime, and they were worried that she was going to plead insanity, so they got her checked out. They figured out that she was totally fine, in that regard. She's not schizophrenic or anything. She was mentally sound in a way.
She knows what she did was fucked up.
You know what you did. You know what you did, woman. Absolutely horrible.